lost any weight at all on this medication. This is literally what a patient said to me a couple of weeks ago in the office. She has been on wegovy for weight loss, and she's been on it for a few months, and she doesn't feel like she's lost any weight. And literally, I go back in the chart and I start kind of scrolling around and looking, and I'm like, oh, she really hasn't lost that much weight. Now, does that really happen? Why does that happen? And if so, what should you do about it? Guys, I'm Dr. Jan. It's good to see you. I'm going to give you 9 reasons why you may not be losing weight on your GLP-1 medications. Let's start with the first one that I told my patient recently. First one is we have to remember that these medications were never intended to be used in isolation, meaning without a proper healthy diet and exercise, especially for the weight loss component. Even when people are using these medications for diabetes, we still want them eating a healthy diet and exercising. This is very important. And it's not just portion control, although that is an important piece, but we also want to make sure that your diet is filled with all of the building blocks that you need. Lean protein, fiber, and veggies, and all the good stuff. And exercise. So expecting these medications to sort of do all the work without making any other changes is potentially, no, it is an unrealistic expectation. So keep that in mind if you feel like, gosh, I'm just not losing any weight on these medications. Have you made other changes? Number 2, genetics. Genetics can play a role with how well these medications work for you. I mean, I would argue that that probably plays a role with almost any medication. And this makes sense because we now know that obesity is not just about, oh, you should work harder and work harder to lose weight. Why can't you do it? I can do it. That, by the way, is some BS, okay? We now know that obesity is multifactorial. It involves many different aspects of our lives, genetics and environment and so many other things. And we now know that shaming and blaming people is not the right way to go. But in that same vein, we also know and realize that genetics may play a role with how well these medications work for you. Number 3. Some folks just need more time, okay? For some of my patients, they've been on the medications maybe for a couple weeks, and they're like, I haven't lost any weight. And I'm like, you just started it, you know? Sometimes we have to be patient. And I know on the Googler Schmoogler, all these people, celebrities, TikTokers, whatever, saying, I lost all this weight. And it seems like everyone's losing weight. But remember, we don't always get the full story. And remember, these medications take time as well, all right? The next one, number 4, is not increasing the dose. Guys, this is a big one. I can't tell you how many people, friends, family members I've talked to that are like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not losing weight. In the beginning I was on these medications, but then it stopped and then I plateaued. And by the way, plateauing tends to happen to most people at some point, okay? But this is the thing. You know, if you have not had your dose titrated, that could be the issue. Remember, many of these medications, the dose is indicated to be titrated or increased every so many weeks, etc. Okay? So you need to talk to your doctor about, first of all, what dose you are in relation to where your goals are or how you're doing, and come up with a plan with your doctor. Okay? So if your dose is not being titrated, that could be the problem. What medications am I talking about? We're talking about GLP1 agonists. We're talking about the GLP1 agonist. GLP1 agonist, an example is semaglutide, which exists in 2 different FDA-approved forms. One is OZEMPIC, which is FDA-approved for diabetes. The other is wegovy, which is FDA-approved for weight loss, okay? Same semaglutide, but they have 2 separate FDA indications and 2 different types of dosing. There's also liraglutide that exists as Saxenda and Victoza. That's just another example. An example of a GLP1 is tirzepatide, but then it exists as Mounjaro, which is FDA approved for diabetes, but also Zepbound, which is FDA approved for weight loss, okay? Just so you know. And I have a video on how these medications work and what they do to our body and how it is that we lose weight on them. So I'll make sure I kind of link it here. Just DM me if you don't see it, all right? The next thing is, there is such a thing, rather, as non-responders. People who literally don't lose weight the way others do on these medications. They lose a very small percentage of body weight compared to other people on these medications. We often refer to them as non-responders. In some ways, this makes a lot of sense too, because remember, everybody is different. Everybody's body is different, and not everyone is going to respond the same way. The next thing is, think about medication interactions or medications that may hinder the benefits you might be able to see with GLP-1s, right? Remember, there are some medications that will cause us to gain weight, whether it's certain psych medications, whether it's insulin, whether it's being on steroids, steroids. Many of these medications, we may not even be able to help being on them, okay? And by the way, don't stop any medications without talking to your doctor, but just know that it's possible that you may be on other medications that may make losing weight just harder than the average person in general because of what you're on. Make sure you're talking to your doctor about that, okay? Let's now talk to, and we have 3 more to go, okay? The next one I think is really important. Some of these medications work better than others, okay? Let me give an example. Data shows that tirzepatide, which is the GLP1 agonist, which is often known as Zepbound for the weight loss version, Mounjaro for the diabetes version, remember? That medication tends to work better than some of the other GLP1 agonists. So we do know that not all of these medications work as well as one another. Important for you to know. 2 more. The next thing is not being able to take the medication, right? If you're not able to take it consistently and as prescribed, you may have problems losing weight. And I'm not blaming you if you can't take it as prescribed, because what are the main reasons why my patients can't take these medications as prescribed? Number 1, their insurance won't cover it. Number 2, cost. Number 3, availability. They're able to get, 1 or 2 months of the dose, then they go to increase it or keep the same dose. We can't find it, right? So all that stuff plays a role. Then let's talk about potential side effects, because some of my patients, I think that's probably a fair way to say it, have side effects and they just can't take it, right? So, not being able to take it is going to absolutely influence your ability to lose weight. And by the way, before I give you the last one, let me know in the comments, are you taking any one of these medications? Do you feel like your medicine has not worked for you? Which medication are you on? And what's been your path and your story with it? Have you had problems getting it or tolerating it, etc.? Write in the comments. And I always want you to do this because oftentimes what you say helps other people. All right, the last one that I think is helpful to understand is having an underlying medical condition that literally could impact how well these GLP-1 medications work. This sort of falls under how genetics can play a role, how our medications that we're taking can play a role, our underlying medical conditions can play a role. Remember, one person is not like necessarily the others. What I want you to do, though, is if you feel like you're not losing weight on the GLP-1s, please talk with your doctor about this, okay? Because oftentimes there are things we can do. We can take a look at the dose. Sometimes people are on multiple weight loss medication regimens, okay? I have patients that are not just on one. You may need something like that. Maybe we need to take a look at some of your other medications and make sure they're not hindering your progress. Think about incorporating exercise and a healthy diet if you're not doing that already. Think about getting a nutritionist. There are more suggestions than that. That's just a few to get you started. Let me know if this is helpful. Guys, I'm Dr. Jen. Please subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Please follow my page on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. You name it, please follow me there. And go to my website, drjencaudle.com, to sign up for my free health newsletter.